First up is the Tavern Brawler Thrower. This build is easily one of the strongest in the game thanks to Tavern Brawler, which adds twice your strength modifier to the damage and attack rolls when you throw. The extra damage being treated as a separate damage source leads to incredibly high damaging throws, especially when combined with the right equipment and a good throwing weapon. Baldur's Gate 3 has 4 weapons that are perfect for throwing. Those are the returning pike, because it has homing weapon. It returns to the owner when thrown, which allows it to be used by a berserker barbarian for up to 3 throws a turn while berserking. The lightning jabber deals an extra 1d4 lightning damage when thrown at a target, which is considered yet another separate damage source. And then Dwarven Thrower, which has homing weapon, returning when thrown, and dealing an extra 1d8 bludgeoning damage, up to 2d8 if the target is large, huge, or gargantuan, which is a separate damage source. And last, Nyrulna, which deals 3d4 thunder damage and explosion when thrown. It also has glowing, which shines a light in a radius of 6 meters, which pairs perfectly with the callous glow ring, and the thunder damage is considered a separate damage source as well. Now, other than the weapons, other items you're going to want to look out for when putting together this build include the Ring of Flinging, the Callous Glow Ring, Gloves of Uninhibited Kushigo, and anything else that can increase your odds to get critical hits like, spoiler alert, Saravok's Horned Helmet, and Knife of the Undermountain King. The Grimeskull Helm is another great addition, granting Hunter's Mark and cannot be critically hit. For feats, you want to get Tavern Brawler first, and once you get a good offhand weapon to pair with your throwing weapon, like Knife of the Undermountain King, then you can pick up the dual wield feat and then later ability improvement into strength to max that out. Now for your class, I like to start out as a berserker barbarian because you can get enraged throw for an extra throw at level 3, but once you get the lightning jabber in Act 2 at around level 5 or 6, it's a good time to switch to Eldritch Knight because you can ritually bind your throwing weapon to return to you when thrown, since the lightning jabber doesn't do that automatically. And you'll also get action surge along with extra attack, which means 4 throws in a single turn, which could end in an encounter outright, and you can even stay Eldritch Knight all the way to level 11 to pick up improved extra attack for 3 throws, followed by an action surge for another 3, meaning 6 throws on your first turn, and the last level in War Cleric to gain 3 additional attacks as bonus actions per long rest. This means 6 throws your first turn, followed by 4 throws the following turn. Your enemies will be decimated. And overall, this build is really one of the most powerful in Baldur's Gate 3 and will certainly make Tactician difficulty seem easy. And if you like that build, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more Baldur's Gate 3 videos. Next up is the Gloomstalker Sharpshooter dual hand crossbow build. This build attacks many times per turn and can end entire fights before enemies even get a turn. The reason this build is so strong is because of the Sharpshooter feat. It makes your ranged weapon attacks deal an additional 10 damage but have a -5 penalty to their attack roll, and with 3+ attacks per turn, you can deal 30+ damage per action, and even more when paired with the right multi-class combinations. The multi-class build that I like to play goes Rogue 4 for Thief's Fast Hands, which grants an additional bonus action, Ranger 5 for Gloomstalker, which grants bonus to Initiative and Dread Ambusher, which is an extra attack that deals extra physical damage along with extra attack at level 5, and the Archery Fighting Style at level 2 for a +2 bonus to attack rolls with ranged weapons. And you also get Lesser Restoration at level 5 in case you get blinded, which can be very annoying for a ranged class, so you can cure that yourself. And then Fighter 3 grants Action Surge for extra attacks and Defense Fighting Style along with battle maneuvers from Battle Master, such as Disarming Attack, Pushing Attack, and Trip Attack. Now this build is great because you can use 2 stat sticks as your melee weapons, such as Rhapsody and Knife of the Undermountain King, for their respective bonuses. And for hand crossbows, there aren't really a lot of good options, but the Naramisser can be bought in Act 2, and the Hellfire hand crossbow can be found on your gear in Act 2. But simply getting any hand crossbows to dual wield as fast as you possibly can is the priority, since Sharpshooter adds +10 damage to both the main hand and offhand attacks. We really just need to dual wield as soon as we get that feat for all that bonus damage. And with the high initiative from maxing out dexterity and Gloomstalker, you'll get your turn first and slay multiple enemies before they even have a turn, making this build one of the strongest in Baldur's Gate 3. Next up is the Tempest Cleric Storm Sorcerer build. This build deals massive lightning damage through making enemies wet and following up with a lightning damage spell which deals double damage to wet enemies and using Destructive Wrath to deal the maximum damage possible. This build really takes off once you get quickened spells, so you can create water and lightning bolt or chain lightning in the same turn. I was already dealing 600 plus damage in Act 2 per turn, which was absolutely jaw-dropping. You'll want to get Storm Sorcerer to level 3 and Tempest Cleric to level 2 as fast as possible. This unlocks the two keys of this build, which is create water, quickened spell, and a lightning spell. You'll also want level 1 into Wizard to learn powerful spells like lightning bolt and chain lightning from the scrolls you find. These spells will be based on your intelligence if learned from scrolls, so I like to equip the Warped Headband of Intellect to give it a boost. You can also use Chromatic Orb early on before you get lightning bolt. Now for gear, the Spellcrux Amulet provides spell slot restoration, which is strong with Sorcerer, and Wizards create sorcery points and arcane recovery, allowing you to flexibly restore sorcery points or spell slots as needed to cast your combo more often per long rest. Once you use the Spellcrux Amulet, you can take it off and put on the Blast Pendant instead for Lightning Blast to strengthen your next lightning spell. The spell Sparkler helps generate lightning charges, and the Jolty Vest causes attackers to be shocked when you have lightning charges. The Water Sparklers cause the water you stand in to become electrified, and if you start your turn on electrified surface, you gain 3 lightning charges, so the synergy is really nice there. And you can top it all off with the Sparks Wall, which makes you resistant to lightning damage and immune to electrocution, and you've got an awesome lightning themed build that can absolutely crush both hordes of monsters and single targets. An upcasted level 6 Witch Bolt on a single wet target with Destructive Wrath will deal nearly 300 damage on a critical strike. If there are more than one target, a twin casted Chain Lightning on wet targets will deal even more. For your feats, you'll want Elemental Adept Lightning to prevent rolling a 1 when dealing lightning damage and ignore resistance to lightning damage. Alert is always a great feat to take too, since you can likely take out the enemy before they even get a turn when you choose this feat. And with Tempestuous Magic, you can easily fly around repositioning without provoking opportunity attacks. Overall, it's an incredibly fun spellcaster build that will crush your enemies with unlimited power. And next up is the Smite Paladin. Probably not a surprise that this build makes the list. The Smite Paladin can do an incredible amount of damage each turn, and it can be built in a vast number of different ways. Previously, the Warlock Paladin multi-class was the strongest because of the extra attack from Pact of the Blade Warlock could be stacked with the extra attack from Paladin, but that has been fixed. Now, although Warlock Paladin is still a great multi-class combination if you want to also use Eldritch Blast and max out your Charisma, since with Pact Weapon, your attack and damage rolls switch to your spellcasting ability modifier, which is Charisma, so you can deal good damage from melee or range, and you'll also get your Warlock spell slots back on short rest, which is nice for more smites. However, I prefer the Sorkadin. Getting Oath of Vengeance Paladin up to level 6 for the extra attack, Aura of Protection, heavy armor proficiency, and most importantly, Hold Person. Once you get Band of the Mystic Scoundrel from the Jungle of Cholt in Act 3, you can attack and then use Hold Person as a bonus action. Hold Person makes attacks from within 3 meters always critical hits, which means automatic critical smites are on the menu repeatedly. The 6 levels of Sorcerer gives you plenty of spell slots to work with for Smite and Hold Person, and you can even mix in some meta magic to make Hold Person either last longer or ideally twin spell it. For your feats, you'll want Great Weapon Master and Savage Attacker. This means, of course, you'll want to use a high damage two-handed weapon, something like a greatsword, but the best in slot here is the Diva Mask for its high maximum damage. For all these builds, maxing out your damage sources and damage riders will make a huge difference. Falar Aluv is a great addition. The Darkfire Shortbow is incredibly strong too, granting haste and cold and fire resistance, which I like to carry on my Smite Paladin. And last, make sure to use elixirs each long rest, especially Elixir of Bloodlust, and you'll take down Tactician difficulty with no problem. So I hope this was helpful, and this hopefully can serve as a guide to take it on. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.